Hello, creative, and welcome back to the Empowered Creatives Podcast, finding confidence between hustle and burnout. I'm your host, Victoria Hines, creative career coach, helping creatives just like you navigate those twists and turns in your creative career. This week, we are diving into part 2 of the Hold the Vision, Trust the Process series. So this is a mantra that I have held near and dear to my heart for quite a few years now, and it is one of the most frustrating mantras. But when times get hard, when I'm not sure if I'm moving in the right direction, when I am frustrated with how slow things are moving, this is the mantra that I always go back to. So hold the vision, trust the process. It's important. If you didn't join us for last week, that episode was on holding the vision. I have many other episodes I referred out to in the show notes below that one on all about crafting your vision and creating it. But this week is, I think it's the crux. It's where the rubber meets the road in this mantra. It's trusting the process. It is the most frustrating piece of this mantra. And it's the most frustrating, I can tell you, because I want to control my journey. I want to control it. I love having control over my journey. I want to make all the decisions. I want to control the timeline. I want to say, great, if I do X, Y, and Z, then this thing is going to happen on this date. And that is not always the way that it works. It's just not. It's not always the way that life works, that your career works, that relationships work, that anything works. Trusting the process means letting go. This part of your creative journey, I feel like, is a little bit like Candyland. I don't know if you've ever played Candyland or if you can think back to the game. Honestly, it's been many, many years since I've played that game, but I remember it being a ton of fun because sometimes you got like that magical card or you landed on that magical space where you got to like move super far ahead and you were like on the fast track. And then sometimes you would land on that space where suddenly you would be sent back way further back than you wanted to go. It was always a journey and it was so frustrating and you never know where the twists and turns and the cards and the dice were going to lead you. And unfortunately, I think life is very much like Candyland. You never know where the cards, the dice, the twists and the turns are going to lead you. It doesn't mean that your vision or your mission changes. If you have that vision, you know exactly where you want to be going. You know the end goal. However, the journey to get there is the thing that becomes, the adventure, and it can be fun or it can be absolutely frustrating. So I actually want to share this quote with you. And I don't know if you all listen to this podcast, but it's one of my favorite podcasts that I started listening to back in like the OG days. Quite a few years ago. And that is Creative Pep Talk by Andy J. Pizza. Love this podcast. I think he's so brilliant. He's such a great personality. He's so warm and inviting and fun. And, sometimes I feel like he fully admits he has ADHD. So sometimes I start listening to it and I'm like, where is this going, Andy? And it always ends up somewhere beautiful. But if I go back to, I think it was episode 310, I actually wrote this down in my notes because I thought this quote from him was so brilliant. So I'm going to read it to you. He says, "The problem is, and the reason why you want to give up is because you don't know if every step you're taking is getting closer to where you want to be or further away. You don't know if every step that you take is another step to being found or if it's another step towards being lost forever beyond return. We lose motivation because we lack clarity." I think this is exactly why we sometimes give up on our vision. It's why we forget to hold the vision because the process gets so murky and cloudy. It's okay to feel lost. It's okay to feel like your vision is really far away and you're not sure how to get there. And it's okay if it's not arriving on your timeline. And it's okay if you don't know if you're taking the exact right steps. But your vision is what gives you clarity. Going back to your vision is exactly what motivates you to keep going through the murky waters. The second part of this quote, the energy to just keep going even when it gets frustrating, that is trusting the process. So this episode, I am going to share with you 5 mantras to help you trust the process when things get tough. Hey there, creative. I have a delightful invitation just for you. Imagine diving even deeper into the incredible world of living your life as an empowered creative, including more tips, tricks, and advice arriving straight into your inbox. Sounds pretty cool, right? Well, guess what? I've got something special brewing, and I don't want you to miss out. Introducing my oh-so-awesome bi-weekly email newsletter. It's a vibrant community bursting with passion, curiosity, and the love of building a creative life. By joining my newsletter, you'll get first access to new promotions and launches, as well as my welcoming voice in your ear every other week. Also, I'll share with you my creative career audit worksheet, a secret tool myself and clients have used during our own career transitions and pivots. So don't miss this opportunity to be my pen pal, as well as deepen your connection with fellow empowered creatives by heading to www.victoriahines.com or following the link in the show notes below. Thank you for being such an incredible listener, and I really look forward to sharing this exciting journey with you through both the podcast and my newsletter. Now, let's dive back into the show. All right, creative, here is mantra number 1. I don't know if I'm headed in the right direction yet, but I will know very soon. This mantra is very powerful because it gives you permission to be just a little bit lost. It's giving yourself permission to say, hey, you don't know yet, but that's okay because you're going to find out. There are going to be moments of this journey where you just don't know if what you're doing is the right thing. Trust is trusting that you yourself are going to be able to navigate yourself back to where you want to go, navigate yourself back to the right path, or navigate yourself back to getting the right supplies you need to get back onto the right path. I had no idea when I left Chicago if I was making the right choice. I had no idea if I was heading in the right direction. In fact, I've just decided to recently, I would say a few months ago, but I've decided to move to Asheville, North Carolina. I have no idea right now in this moment if I am making the right choice. But I know I have to try. And I know by making this choice, I will eventually know if I am making the right choice or not. I will eventually be able to decide, am I stepping closer to my vision, or does this feel really far away from where I want to be? I had to be okay. In order to make that choice, I had to be okay with giving myself permission to say, I don't know. That is why that mantra is powerful. Mantra number 2. Sometimes to journey forward, I have to take a pit stop or backtrack to gather the right supplies. If you think back to any epic journey, let's take Lord of the Rings, for example. Frodo was not always taking the most direct route to getting the ring to Mordor. That's not how that journey played out. He wasn't able to carve the straight line path of saying, okay, now I know what needs to happen. Great. I'm going to go straight through all of this stuff and I'm going to get there exactly on my timeline. And I'm not going to take any reroutes or redirection. It's not how life works. It's not how the journey works. Sometimes you are going to have to stop on your journey. Maybe your health gets in the way. Maybe you have to focus on a full-time job for a while instead of your creative work. Maybe you have a family member who gets ill, who you have to take care of. Maybe you decide that you really want a family, which means some of your energy and time has to go towards that vision as well as your work. And you have to put that piece, that side of your work, a little bit on the back burner for right now. Sometimes you also have to backtrack. Sometimes you're going to have to take a few steps back and reroute. Go backwards to figure out where you misstepped or where you went wrong. And that's okay. Sometimes as well, you're going to arrive to a piece of a journey. Let's say you arrive to a moment and it is the moment that will take you into the next phase of your career, to your life. It'll take you into that next phase of where you're wanting to go in your vision, but you are just not ready to step into it. This could be for financial means. This could be for based on time means. This also could be mindset. Maybe there's too much imposter syndrome or self-sabotaging you're still doing to where you are not ready to step into that next phase. Pit stops and backtracking does not mean that you are stepping off the adventure and you are stepping away from your vision. Rather, it means you are giving yourself time to recoup, to grow, to expand, so that you are ready for that next phase and can go to that next level. Mantra number 3, things aren't changing for me fast enough, and that's okay. I have time. Most of my 20s, I never felt like I had time. I think that's pretty common. I do think mine was on hyperdrive, though, due to my prior cancer diagnosis when I was 17. And so there was this feeling that I had to do everything and I had to do it fast because I needed to be where I needed to be in 3 months, 6 months, a year. Now that I'm more in my 30s, I've realized that A, I don't control the timeline very well, and B, maybe things don't need to happen as fast as I think they do. It's okay if it feels like it's moving slow. What I love to think back to is if you've ever seen an elephant walk, they have this really slow pace to them. They have these big long legs, which are beautiful, but if you've ever watched a video of them walking, it's so slow. But they get exactly where they need to be when they need to be there. And that can be you too. Just because you're moving slower than you thought doesn't mean that you're not moving in the right direction. And moving in the right direction is more important than the pace you are moving at. Mantra number 4. I am capable of overcoming any obstacle life puts in my path. This is where the bravery piece comes into play. When you are moving into that next phase of your journey, it's so easy for fear to creep in. It's so easy for fear to say, take a step back, go back to your comfort zone. You're not ready to be here. It's going to be a big, bad mess up. You're going to fail. So why don't you just go back to the thing you know? Why don't you go back to the little village that you've kind of made a pit stop in? You're safe there. Just stay there. But that voice, that little voice, that voice is going to keep you exactly where you are today. And it's going to keep you away from that big, beautiful vision that you want to be moving towards. So, it's important to remind yourself that you are capable. You have conquered these obstacles before. You have taken care of yourself before. You have navigated these issues before. Maybe not exactly this issue, but you have achieved things. You've made big, bold steps before, and I promise you are capable of overcoming this one today as well. Mantra number 5. My vision is waiting for me, and I will see it soon. I like this one because it's a mantra that can bring you back to peace. It's a mantra to use when you are feeling frustrated, that life's thrown curveballs, that you're not moving at the pace that you want. This is the mantra you go back to remind yourself that your vision is not going anywhere. If you miss one little step or like moving at a certain pace, it's not like your vision's going to suddenly disappear. I've taken many different trajectories in my life that I never thought I was going to take. In fact, I've taken many different trajectories in the last 3 years. I did not know that I was going to move full-time into a job so that I could support the life I wanted as well as my business. I had every full expectation when I launched my business that that's what I would be doing full-time. Not the way that worked, and that's okay. I'm able to recognize that where I'm at now is where I'm meant to be. And I'm leveling up and challenging myself in that job in ways that I've never had before. And I know that it's giving me a much more solid foundation to make another leap into full-time business work down the road. My vision hasn't gone anywhere. It hasn't shifted despite these different moves, these different changes. It's just changed the process, and that's okay. All right, creative. Here's a reminder of the 5 mantras. I don't know if I'm headed in the right direction yet, but I will. Sometimes to journey forward, I have to take a pit stop or backtrack to gather the right supplies. Things aren't changing for me fast enough, and that's okay. I have time. I am capable of overcoming any obstacle life puts in my path. My vision is waiting for me, and I will see it soon. All right, creative, here's your one thing this week. Guess what? I want you to write down a mantra on a sheet of paper and put it somewhere where you will see it every single day. This could be one of the mantras that I've given you on the show. However, the thing about a mantra, if you say it out loud to yourself and it doesn't ring true to you, it doesn't kind of hit you deep in your core, it's probably not the right mantra for you. So feel free to tweak the ones I've given you or to write your own. Tweak it, write your own, use the ones I have. Whatever hits you at your core, that's the one that you need to be seeing every single day and reminding yourself. That mantra is going to help you trust the process today so that you can keep moving towards the vision you have for tomorrow. All right, creative, if you've been enjoying the show, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. And until next week, stay creative.